My husband's passenger seat had become his female coworker's personal throne. She just got divorced, he said. No one's there to look out for her. What's wrong with giving her a ride now and then? I didn't throw a fit. I just bought a new car and hired a handsome college student as my driver. He shuttled me to and from work every day. On weekends, he came with me to the gym, went shopping with me, and carried my bags. This went on for a month, watching me laugh and chat easily with my driver. My husband finally snapped and slammed his chopsticks down on the table. Do you even respect me? You're a married woman, I shot back. He's just a recent grad with no one to look out for him. What's wrong with giving him a hand? His face turned beet red. He couldn't say a single word. Ethan Parker got home at 11 that night. Why are you still up? I told you I was working late tonight. You didn't have to wait up. Grabbed something from the garage. I nodded toward the coffee table. Right in the center sat a tube of lipstick. Oh, must be Luna's. She left it. He walked over, picked up a glass of water, and took a sip. Gave her a ride to a client meeting today. She was touching up her makeup in the car. A ride. I looked at him. Your office is on the south end of town. The client's on the north end. We live on the west end. How exactly is that on the way? Ethan frowned and set his glass down hard enough that water sloshed over the rim. Can you stop being so sensitive? She just got divorced. She's raising a kid alone and can't drive. Cut her some slack. The company gives a transportation stipend. She can expense taxi fares. She's new. You think accounting won't give her a hard time over a few bucks? I'm her supervisor. Is it really that big of a deal to do a simple favor? His voice rose, defensive and self-righteous. 5 years of marriage, and we'd had this exact conversation at least 10 times. It started with grabbing her breakfast on the way, then driving her home after work, and now touching up makeup in the passenger seat. Luna Reed. The name was a thorn, working its way deeper into my marriage, one tiny prick at a time. Last week, I'd found a long strand of hair wedged in the seat crack when I took the car to be washed. Today, it was lipstick. What would it be tomorrow? Claire, don't look at me like that. Ethan tugged off his tie, impatient. Nothing's going on between us. She's going through a hard time. The least we can do is help. Can't you be a little more understanding as my wife? I've always said the passenger seat is mine, I said calmly. That was before. He sounded annoyed. It's not the 1950s. Who even cares about that anymore? Am I supposed to make her sit in the trunk over a seat? She can sit in the back. Sit in the back. What am I? Her chauffeur. She's a colleague, not my boss. A perfect loop of logic. He was always right, no matter what I said. Fine. I nodded and stood up. Get some sleep. Ethan blinked. He'd expected me to grill him for details, make him swear nothing was going on. You're not mad anymore. He tried cautiously. Not mad. You're right. A car is just a way to get around. It doesn't matter who sits where. I was being petty. Ethan let out a relieved breath. That's my girl. I knew you'd be reasonable. Tomorrow's Saturday. Want me to take you out for sushi? I have plans tomorrow. What plans? Buying a car. Ethan laughed. Buying a car? We just got that Audi 2 years ago. Besides, remember last time you tried to parallel park? You scraped the whole side. That's why. I looked him dead in the eye. I'm hiring a driver. Ethan thought I was joking. He waved a hand and headed for the bathroom. Sure, whatever makes you happy. You make good money. Spend it however you want. The shower turned on. I pulled out my phone, opened a job board, and posted an urgent listing. Requirements. Male, 2025. Good appearance and demeanor. 3 years driving experience. Gentle and polite personality. Salary, negotiable, competitive. If a car is just transportation, and looking out for people along the way is a virtue, then it was time I learned to be understanding too. Saturday morning, at the luxury car dealership, I paid cash for a Porsche Panamera. The sales manager could barely contain his smile, practically falling over himself to be helpful. Ms. Bennett, this car is stunning. Not just anyone can pull off a vehicle like this. It's fine. I have a driver. I sat in the waiting area and watched a young man walk through the glass doors. Jake Miller, 22 years old. Senior in the university athletics program, worked part-time as a driving coach and valet. He wore a plain white t-shirt and jeans, 6'1", with lean, defined muscle from years of training, strong but not overdone. Sunlight hit his face, and that bright, youthful energy was impossible to miss. I'd picked him out of 30 resumes. "Morning, Ms. Bennett." He walked over, a little reserved, his voice clear and bright. "Took the car for a test drive." "Yeah, drive's great. It's really nice. Kinda nervous to drive something this expensive." He scratched the back of his neck, grinning sheepishly. "Don't be. Insurance covers accidents. If it can't be fixed, we'll get a new one." I set the car keys on the table and slid them toward him. "You'll drive me to and from work every morning and evening. On call on weekends. $8,000 a month. Plus overtime. Any questions?" Jake stared at the keys, his eyes lighting up before he stood up straight. "No questions, thank you, Ms. Bennett." I'd been young once. I knew how irresistible a fancy car was to a guy his age. "Let's go. Drive me home." The car pulled out of the dealership and merged smoothly into traffic. Jake was a good driver. Acceleration and braking were soft and steady. Riding with him was a world away from Ethan's road rage. Ethan complained non-stop behind the wheel, yelled at slow drivers, yelled at people who cut him off, yelled at long red lights. Riding shotgun with him meant putting up with cigarette smoke and all his negativity. Now the car was quiet, just the faint smell of leather and a hint of mint. "Temperature okay for you, Ms. Bennett?" Jake glanced in the rearview mirror. "Fine. Music? I can put on something light." "Sure." Soft piano music filled the cabin. I leaned back against the leather seat and closed my eyes. In that moment, I realized just how cheap Ethan's excuse about helping out along the way really was. Real care means someone takes care of everything before you even have to ask. The car pulled up in front of our building in the gated community. Ethan was just heading out. He stopped, his eyes glued to the car. Jake parked, quickly unbuckled, got out, and hurried around to open the back door for me. He held a hand over the doorframe and bowed slightly. "Watch your head, Ms. Bennett." I stepped out gracefully in my heels. Ethan's eyes went wide. "Claire." He walked over, his gaze darting between me and Jake, finally landing on Jake's young, handsome face. Who is this?" "My driver, Jake." I introduced him flatly. "Jake, this is my husband. Nice to meet you, Mr. Parker." Jake bowed slightly, perfectly polite. Ethan's jaw twitched. "A driver? You're actually serious about this?" "When have I ever joked about something?" I adjusted my cuff. "You're busy with work. You don't have time to drive me around. And driving myself is tiring." "Jake's working his way through college. He needs the job. I'm just doing my part. Like you said, helping out a young person." "Helping a young person?" Ethan repeated the words like he'd swallowed a fly. "Exactly. He just graduated. No connections. No family here. Trying to make it in the big city. It's hard. The least I can do is give him a hand." As someone older, I'd thrown his own words right back at him, word for word. Ethan opened his mouth like he wanted to argue, but couldn't find a single point to push back on. Just then, his phone rang. It was Luna. He glanced at the screen, then at Jake. Looking flustered. "Answer it. Don't keep her waiting. She's got a kid to take care of. Wouldn't want her to be late." Ethan gritted his teeth, declined the call, and pointed at Jake. "Claire, this isn't over. We're talking about this tonight." With that, he climbed into his Audi and peeled out. I watched his taillights fade, a cold smile tugging at my lips. "Jake." "Yeah, Ms. Bennett. Let's go to the grocery store. I need to pick up a few things." "Sure thing." Monday morning. I left 10 minutes later than usual on purpose. Ethan was by the door putting on his shoes. "Hurry up. We'll hit traffic if we don't leave now." I used to ride with him to work. It was on the way, but ever since Luna showed up, I'd barely set foot in his car. "I'm not riding with you." I grabbed my bag. Jake's waiting downstairs. Ethan froze mid-motion. "Claire, you still haven't fired that driver." "Why would I? He's great. A little pricey, but worth every penny." "Come on, is this necessary?" Two cars driving to work one after the other. "People will think we're separated. Then we can be separated." "Claire." I ignored him and walked out. The elevator hit the first floor. As soon as I stepped outside, I saw the two cars parked side by side. On the left, Ethan's black Audi A6. On the right, my gray Panamera. The visual contrast was stark. Even better, Jake was leaning against the door, polishing the side mirror with a suede cloth. Morning sunlight fell on him. Even the neighbor ladies walking by couldn't help staring. When he saw me, he immediately put the cloth away and opened the passenger door. Morning, Ms. Bennett. Got your breakfast, hot coffee and a whole wheat sandwich. No mayo. It's in the cup holder. I paused for a second. Proper chauffeur etiquette, said the boss sat in the back. Jake seemed to read my confusion and smiled. Figured you might want a view up front. Anne. The coffee cup's kinda big. More stable in the front holder. I'd mentioned offhand, that I got carsick in the back. This kid noticed everything. I sat down in the passenger seat. Ethan came out right then. He'd just reached his car when he saw Jake leaning in to buckle my seatbelt from behind. The distance between them looked dangerously intimate. Bang! Ethan slammed his car door hard. He didn't drive off right away, just sat there, staring. 2 minutes later, a woman in a beige trench coat came hurrying over. Luna carried an insulated bag and slid right into Ethan's passenger seat like she belonged there. Sorry I'm late. Ethan had to drop the kid at daycare. I made Sushi try some. She held a piece up to his mouth. Ethan turned his head away, glancing over at me. I rolled down my window, nodded at them with a perfect, polite corporate smile. Jake, drive. You got it. Jake hit the gas. The Panamera sped off, leaving them in a cloud of exhaust. On the way, Jake spoke up suddenly. Ms. Bennett, that was your husband, right? Ma'am, that woman. He trailed off. She's not his sister, is she? Coworker. Oh, Jake nodded thoughtfully. They seem pretty close for coworkers. Didn't even put her seatbelt on before she started feeding him. Even a college student could see what was going on. But Ethan acted like I was blind. Jake, yeah, if we run into them again, don't say anything, just drive. Got it. And for what it's worth, she gives me bad vibes. Watch your back. I watched the scenery fly by outside the window. Bad vibes was putting it lightly. That was straight up provocation. I used to think if I didn't make a fuss, Ethan would eventually come back to our family. Now I knew. Backing down just gave them more room to push further. If Ethan thought the passenger seat was for anyone, then why couldn't mine be for a young, handsome guy who actually paid attention to what I needed? We pulled up to the lobby of my office building right in the middle of morning rush hour. The Panamera parked right out front, turning heads left and right. Jake got out and came around to open my door. As I stepped out, I ran into a few female colleagues. Whoa, Claire, new car. This car is insane. Then they saw Jake. There was a collective sharp intake of breath. Oh my God, is that your driver? He's so hot. Is he in a boy band or something? Jake smiled politely at them. Good morning, ladies. I'm Ms. Bennett's driver. Ladies. That one word had all my coworkers gushing. Claire, where did you find this? Are there more like him? I smiled and straightened my collar. Just lucky. All right, back to work. Everyone. In the elevator, I caught my reflection in the mirrored walls. Shoulders back. Makeup perfect. Eyes bright. Compared to the miserable, anxious mess I'd been, staying up waiting for my husband to come home late. I actually looked alive again. Wednesday night. Ethan came home on time for once. I was changing into my yoga gear, getting ready to head to the gym. Isn't that a little revealing? He frowned at my sports bra and leggings. It's workout clothes. How else am I supposed to work out? Is that driver taking you? Who else? My legs will be dead after. I can't drive. Ethan took a long drag of his cigarette and snuffed it out in the ashtray. I'll drive you. No need. You've had a long day. Stay home and rest. I grabbed my gym bag to leave, but Ethan grabbed my arm. Claire, are you doing this on purpose? That Jake Guy's no good. You let him follow you around everywhere, and you don't care what people say. I pulled my arm away and turned to look him straight in the eye. What people say? What would they say? That a married woman is hanging around with a guy in his early 20s. Doesn't look good, does it? Now you know how it looks. I laughed. Then what about you? Hanging around Luna every day, driving her to work, eating together. Going to client meetings together. Did you ever stop to think how that looks? That's different. That's work. Jake is my work associate. I'm his employer. What? You get to sacrifice for work, but I can't hire a driver for my own safety. You see the way he looks at you. That's not how an employee looks at his boss. Ethan snapped. What way? Admiration, respect, or just thinking I look nice? I tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Admit it. Ethan, you have a double standard. You get to have a little work wife, but I can't have a competent assistant. I'm worried you'll get played. Guys like that poor college kid's they'll do anything for money. All he does for money is drive me around and carry my bags. Better than some people who blow our shared money on outsiders for some stupid sense of loyalty. Ethan's face fell. Last month, he'd secretly lent Luna $5,000 for her kid's private school enrollment fee. I hadn't said anything. That didn't mean I didn't know. At the gym, Jake was already waiting by the weight machines. He'd changed into workout gear, black tank top, gray shorts. His muscles weren't the puffy, protein powder kind you saw at most gyms. They were lean, explosive, functional. Back day to day. Ms. Bennett. He handed me a bottle of water. Cap already loosened. Ma'am. I started warming up. Jake stayed right there, spotting me. He knew what he was doing. Adjusted the weights. Corrected my form. Chest up. Core tight. Pull your shoulder blades back. There. Feel that right there. His finger tapped lightly on my back muscle. Just a quick touch, gentlemanly. No line crossed. Halfway through my set, I saw Ethan in the mirror. He'd shown up too, and he'd brought Luna. Luna wore a bright pink workout set. Her makeup so done she looked like she was going to a fashion show, not the gym. Ugh, this is too heavy. I can't lift it, Luna whined. Ethan stood behind her, hands wrapped around her wrists, helping her press the dumbbells. Their bodies were practically pressed together. Relax, I've got you. Just push, Ethan said, his voice soft and sweet. Ms. Bennett, what are you looking at? Jake followed my gaze and scoffed. Is that a workout? Or an excuse to cop a feel? None of our business. All right, you done with that set? Wanna try pull-ups? I'll spot you. Sure. I walked over to the bar, jumped up, and grabbed on. Jake stood behind me, hands resting lightly on my waist. Pull, with his help. I pulled myself up easily. Ethan saw. He dropped Luna's dumbbell with a loud clatter. He stormed over, pointing at Jake. Get your hands off her. The whole gym went quiet. Everyone stopped to watch. Jake let go. I landed smoothly on my feet and turned to face Ethan. Mr. Parker. I was spotting her. Standard form my ass. You were just trying to feel her up. Ethan's eyes were wild. He shoved Jake hard in the chest. Jake didn't budge an inch. Ethan stumbled back half a step. The size difference was laughable. Ethan, what is wrong with you? I said coldly. It's normal when you're helping someone lift, but when you do it with your subordinate, it's work. Is that all you ever think about? Cheap, dirty garbage. Ethan was shaking with rage. So you're gonna embarrass me in public now, is that it? Respect is earned, not given. I grabbed a towel and wiped the sweat off my face. Jake, let's go. The air in here's toxic. Sure thing, Ms. Bennett. Jake handed me my water, picked up my bag, and followed me out. As we passed Luna, she stared daggers at me. I stopped and looked down at her. Next time you come to the gym, take your makeup off first. Sweat makes foundation run. You look scary. That Friday was Ethan's company annual gala. Every year before, I'd gone as his plus one. I'd pick out his suit, match his tie, and walk in on his arm, playing the perfect, devoted wife. This year, Ethan hadn't mentioned me coming. It wasn't until 3 in the afternoon the day of the gala that he texted, coming tonight. No big deal if you can't make it. Was that giving me an out, or hinting I'd be better off staying home? I texted back one word. Yes. At 5, I left work on time. Jake, take me to the stylist. Big plans, Ms. Bennett, Jake asked, glancing in the rearview mirror. I'm going to crash their little party. I touched up my lipstick. Wear the black suit tonight. You're coming in with me. Me, is that appropriate? You're my driver and personal assistant. Why wouldn't it be? At 6:30. The Panamera pulled up to the five-star hotel entrance. I wore a dark emerald velvet gown with an open back and pearl necklace, vintage, sharp, and elegant. Jake wore a perfectly tailored black suit with a bow tie, standing at my side like a male model straight off the runway. Every head turned as we walked into the ballroom. Ethan was standing with a few executives, drink in hand. Luna was right next to him in a short white lace dress, fussing with his tie like she owned the place. "Your tie's crooked, Ethan." Her fingers brushed lightly across his chest. Ethan looked down at her, his eyes soft. Ahem. I stood 3 feet away and cleared my throat. Ethan's head snapped up when he saw me, and Jake beside me. His face went rigid. "Well, look who it is, Mrs. Parker," one clueless coworker joked. "Thought you were flying solo tonight, Ethan." I walked over, smiled, and slipped my arm through Ethan's other one, gently but firmly pulling him away from Luna. "Sorry we're late. Traffic was terrible." I nodded at the group. "Ethan, why didn't you tell me your tie was crooked? Having a stranger fix it is rude." I reached up, untied the lopsided knot, and retied it into a perfect Windsor knot in one smooth motion. Luna's face went pale. She bit her lip and stepped back. "And who is this?" Someone nodded at Jake. "My assistant, Jake." I introduced him easily. "Recent grad. Bringing him along to network." "Jake, get me a sparkling water with ice, please." "Right away, Ms. Bennett." Jake turned and headed for the bar. Ethan leaned in and hissed through gritted teeth, "What is he doing here? You wanna make a scene?" I kept smiling. "Luna gets to come, but my assistant can't." "You two seem pretty comfortable with the tie-fixing thing. Practiced a lot, I bet." "Stop being snarky, then stop doing things you should be ashamed of." Just then, Jake came back with my drink. Not just sparkling water, also brought a plate of cut fruit. "Figured you hadn't eaten dinner. Snack on this first." He handed me the plate and a small fork, thoughtful as always. Luna saw her chance. She picked up a glass of red wine and walked over, pretending to trip and bump into Jake. Wine sloshed out, splattering all over Jake's suit sleeve. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." She fumbled with a napkin, trying to wipe it off him. Jake stepped back, out of her reach. "It's fine. I'll handle it myself." His voice was cold. "Luna, how could you be so careless?" Ethan actually scolded her first. Luna's eyes immediately welled up with tears. "Ethan, I really slipped." "Jake, go clean up in the restroom. It's Armani. If it won't come out, throw it away. We'll buy a new one tomorrow." I said it like it was nothing. "Armani?" Luna gasped. "That's so expensive." "Yep, very." I looked right at her. "But it's fine. I've got money. Unlike some people who have to borrow $5,000 just to get by." Tears finally spilled down Luna's face. She covered her mouth and ran off. Ethan shot me a furious look. He wanted to go after her, but couldn't in front of everyone. I took a sip of my sparkling water. The old Claire, the one who'd hide in corners and mope, was gone. The new me. If I didn't care about being embarrassed, nobody else got to make me feel small. After the gala, Ethan and Luna toned it down a little. At least in public, they weren't as brazen about it anymore. But behind the scenes, nothing had changed. Tuesday, 1 a.m. I was half asleep when I heard Ethan's phone buzz. He answered instantly. Voice so low I could barely hear him, but I heard enough. "What?" Pipe burst. "The whole place is flooded." Okay, don't cry. Turn off the main valve first." "You can't find it." "All right, I'm on my way." I turned on the bedside lamp and sat up, watching him. "Where are you going?" Ethan jumped, his eyes darting away. "A company server crashed. I have to go reboot it at the data center." "A server crash needs the sales director to fix it. The night guy can't figure it out. I'm the boss. I have to be there." "Go back to sleep." He pulled on his pants haphazardly, grabbed his keys, and ran out. I heard the front door slam shut and smiled coldly. A divorced woman living alone, with a burst pipe in the middle of the night. Doesn't call maintenance, doesn't call a plumber, calls her married male boss. Everyone knew exactly what that meant. If I couldn't sleep, I might as well not try. I picked up my phone and called Jake. He picked up on the second ring. "Hello, Ms. Bennett." His voice was rough, clearly woken up, but not a trace of annoyance. Awake. Now I am. Everything okay? He was alert instantly. Everything's fine. Just hungry. Wanna get that creamy seafood chowder place on the east side? Come pick me up. There was a beat of silence on the other end. Then the sound of clothes rustling. Got it. Be there in 20. That was the power of money. 8,000 a month bought you round-the-clock availability. 20 minutes later, I was sitting in the Panamera's passenger seat. Jake wore a simple hoodie. His hair a little messy. He looked even more like a college kid. Ms. Bennett, what made you want chowder this late? Couldn't sleep. Wanted some fresh air. The car raced down the empty late-night streets. I rolled down the window. Cold night air rushed in, blowing away some of the tightness in my chest. We got to the chowder shop and ordered seafood chowder and a few small sides. The soup was hot. Jake poured me a bowl and set it aside to cool. Ms. Bennett, did Mr. Parker upset you again? He asked carefully. He went to fix a coworker's burst pipe. I stirred my soup, my voice flat. Jake scoffed. That's the lamest excuse ever. What apartment doesn't have 24-hour maintenance these days? Exactly. But he believes it. Or wants to believe it. Jake, tell me, are all men like that? They turn down a good meal at home just to chase garbage outside. Jake choked a little at the comparison, coughing awkwardly. Not all men, Ms. Bennett, at least. If you really care about someone, you don't let them feel like this. Really care. Ethan used to say those exact words. He used to drive across the city in the middle of the night to bring me cake I was craving. Now that same devotion belonged to someone else. We finished eating around 3 a.m. Jake drove me home. We pulled into the underground parking garage right as Ethan's car was pulling in too. The two cars parked side by side again. Claire, do you have any idea what time it is? What were you doing out with him? He stormed over, yelling. I leaned against the car door. Arms crossed. Got hungry. Went out for a late snack. A snack. At 3 a.m. Alone with some guy. He pointed at Jake. Have you no shame? Fixing a pipe for 2 hours. I shot back. Alone in some woman's apartment. Have you no shame? Ethan sputtered. I was helping. Her place was flooded. I was helping too. I nodded at Jake. Jake's a growing kid. Got hungry in the middle of the night. As his employer, the least I can do is buy him dinner and talk shop. Is that a problem? Talk shop. At 3 a.m. Now you know 3 a.m. isn't the time for business. My voice went cold. Ethan, don't project your dirty mind onto me. If I wanted to cheat, I wouldn't be wasting time on this. You. On the other hand, you might want to air out that perfume before you walk in the house. With that, I turned and headed upstairs. Ethan stood there frozen. He didn't follow. Jake stayed by the car and smiled politely at Ethan. Night. Mr. Parker. Pipe fixing sounds tiring. Perfect follow-up. Ethan started going through my credit card statements. Saturday morning. I woke up to him sitting at the dining table with a stack of bills in front of him. It was my supplementary card. He'd been the one carrying it. Explain this. $2,800. What was that for? I glanced at it. That was Jake's suit. Clothes. I poured myself a glass of water. For who? That's a men's store. He stared daggers at me. For your driver. That's right. Claire, are you insane? He slammed the bill down on the table. $2,800 on a suit for a driver. I bit my tongue about the $8,000 a month salary. But now you're buying him luxury clothes. Are you seriously keeping a boy toy? He's my public representation. If I take him to events and he's dressed cheap, it reflects badly on me. And this. $500 in gas in 1 month. A Panamera uses a lot of gas. You know that. And this. $300 in restaurant charges. You took him out to eat again. Ethan was getting more and more worked up. He stood up and pointed at me. You're spending our marital property on some random guy. That's embezzlement. I laughed. Ethan, have you forgotten something? I set down my glass, walked back to the bedroom, grabbed a folder, and tossed it on the table in front of him. Read it. Ethan opened it, confused. Inside were pay stubs and investment statements. This house. Down payment from my parents. Mortgage comes out of my account. The Audi you drive every day. I paid for it. Your salary goes to your credit cards and all your little favors. There's barely anything left. For years. Every big expense in this house has come out of my pocket. I watched his face get paler and paler as I kept going. That supplementary card, it's tied to my main account. All the gifts you buy Luna, all the dinners. All the money you lend Harry, spending my money. I haven't said a word about it. What gives you the right to yell at me? If it's... That's work. That's networking, right? Well, buying Jake clothes is work too. Employee benefit. I make the money. I spend it how I want. Ethan looked crushed. His male pride was shattered under the weight of my income. Claire, you've become so materialistic. All you care about is money. It was a weak, desperate jab. It's not that I only care about money. It's that when the love is gone, all we have left is money. I gathered up the papers. If you care so much about money, get Luna to pay back that $5,000. And stop using my card to play big shot. I'm canceling your supplementary card. Canceling my card. He looked shocked. How am I supposed to get by? You have a salary, don't you? Director Parker. Just then, my phone buzzed. A text from Jake. Ms. Bennett, I'm downstairs. Nice day today. Wanna drive out to the suburbs? I picked up my phone and replied with a voice note. Right in front of Ethan. Sounds good. Be right down. Bring those new sunglasses we bought. They look great on you. Ethan tore the stack of bills to shreds in a rage. Claire, you'll regret this. You're gonna regret it. I won't. I stared at the shredded paper all over the floor. The only thing I regret is wasting the last 5 years of my life playing free maid and ATM for this family. As I walked out the door, I heard Ethan on the phone with Luna. Hey, Luna. About that $5,000. Can you pay some of it back soon? I'm kinda tight right now. The Cold War lasted a week. Then Friday night, Ethan suddenly suggested we have dinner at home to smooth things over. I invited Luna over. We can all talk it out. Clear up all these misunderstandings. Fine by me. Then I'm inviting Jake too, I said. Ethan's face twitched. But he was determined to have his big happy family showdown. Fine. Invite him. Let's see who's more embarrassed. 7 o'clock that night. The table was covered in food, mostly takeout. 1 or 2 dishes Ethan had cooked himself. 4 people, 2 men, 2 women, sitting across from each other. Luna was dressed plainly, putting on her best innocent act. She raised her glass first. Mrs. Parker. I'm sorry for all the misunderstandings. I was out of line. This is my apology. I didn't touch my glass. I just looked at her. Misunderstandings. The lipstick. The burst pipe at 2 a.m. Which misunderstanding are we talking about? Luna's hand froze midair. Tears welled up in her eyes again. Ethan jumped in to mediate. Claire, come on. She's apologizing. Cut her some slack. Slack. I smiled coldly. Jake, peel me a shrimp. Jake, sitting next to me, didn't hesitate. He put on a glove and expertly peeled a large shrimp, dropping it in my bowl. There you go, Ms. Bennett. Ethan saw that and lost his temper all over again. Jake, is it? You're a young guy, capable of anything. Is this really what you want to do with your life? Drive people around, peel their shrimp. Your parents sent you to college just so you could wait on some woman. It was a cheap, personal attack. Jake set down the shrimp shell, took off his gloves, and wiped his mouth. Mr. Parker, there's no shame in honest work. I earn my money. The shameful thing is spending your wife's money on another woman and acting like you're some kind of hero for it. Crack. Ethan slammed his chopsticks down on the table. You little punk. What did you say? Who's spending money on who? Watch your mouth, aren't you? Jake pulled out a photo and slid it across the table. It was a picture of Ethan and Luna at the mall, buying a handbag. From last month. That bag was $1,500, charged to Ms. Bennett's supplementary card. Jake said it calmly, like he was stating the weather. Ethan went deathly pale. Luna shrank back in her seat. You were following me. Ethan pointed at me. I didn't have to. The receipts tell the whole story. I kept my voice steady. I gave you chances. Ethan, I thought you'd back off. You just kept pushing further. He's just a kid. What does he know? You're gonna take some stranger's word over mine. Ethan was still grasping at straws. He might be young, but he knows what boundaries are. He knows what respect means. I stood up. You, Ethan, You don't even have basic decency. Claire, you're gonna throw our marriage away over some boy toy, he yelled. All I did was help a coworker. Is that really worth ending everything over? Helping her all the way into a hotel room. I dropped the final bomb. A screenshot of a hotel reservation went flying into Ethan's face. Dead silence. Still wanna talk it out? I looked at him. Is that what you wanted to clear up? Ethan collapsed back into his chair. All his arrogance was gone in an instant. Jake stood up and draped my coat over my shoulders. Ms. Bennett, let's go. This dinner's over. I nodded. Ethan, I'll send over the divorce papers. This house is mine. The cars are mine. Be out in 3 days. With that, I walked out with Jake. Never looking back. Behind us, we heard plates shattering, Luna crying, and Ethan roaring. Ethan didn't move out. Instead, he started pulling every cheap trick in the book to claim his territory. He was betting 8 years of history and shared assets would make me too soft to actually throw him out. Saturday morning. I was still asleep when I heard a vacuum cleaner going in the living room, loud as hell, and there was a woman's voice. I threw on my robe and opened the bedroom door. Ethan was sitting on the couch drinking tea, acting like he owned the place, and the person vacuuming. Luna. She wore a loose t-shirt and tiny shorts, bare legs on display, holding a Dyson like she was the little wife of the house. Morning, Mrs. Parker. Luna turned off the vacuum when she saw me, dabbing at fake sweat on her forehead. Ethan said the place was a mess and you're too busy to clean. I had the day off, so I figured I'd help. Call it interest on that $5,000. Ethan set down his teacup and looked at me, defiance in his eyes. See? Luna's thoughtful. You could learn a thing or two. Having a woman around to clean up is better than having some male driver hanging around, bringing his mistress over to clean the house. Calling it paying interest. Only Ethan could come up with something that pathetic. I didn't say a word. I walked straight to the entryway. On the shoe rack sat a pair of pink women's slippers. Luna's. I picked them up, opened the front door, and tossed them outside. Claire. What was that for? Ethan stood up. I ignored him and walked into the bathroom. On the sink sat 2 bottles of men's skincare, a gift from Luna to Ethan. I threw them both in the trash. Then I walked into the kitchen. Luna's thermos was sitting on the counter, full of chicken soup. I dumped the whole thing thermos and all down the garbage disposal. Luna stood in the living room, tears in her eyes. Mrs. Parker. Why would you do that? I simmered that for 3 hours. This is my house. I wiped my hands on a paper towel. Anything that comes in here without my permission is garbage. Claire, that's enough. Ethan marched over, pointing at me. Luna was trying to be nice. Nice. I looked at him. Ethan. If you won't move out, we can play this game your way. I picked up my phone and called a cleaning service. Hi, I need a whole house deep sanitization. Yeah, we've got pests, rats, roaches, that kind of thing. Need everything thrown out that doesn't belong here. I hung up and looked at the 2 of them. Pale as ghosts. Cleaning crews on the way. You can leave now, Ms. Reed, or I'll have them throw you out with the rest of the trash. Luna bit her lip and looked at Ethan, begging him with her eyes. Ethan wanted to yell, but one look at my cold face and he backed down. Luna. Go home. He said it through gritted teeth. But Ethan. Go. He barked. Luna jumped, grabbed her bag, and scurried out with her tail between her legs. After she left, Ethan sat on the couch still trying to reason with me. Claire. I just wanted you to get to know her. She's not what you think. She came over to apologize and help out. Right in front of him. I picked up the $400 vacuum cleaner and tossed it outside the front door. Are you crazy? That was expensive. He jumped up, horrified. It was money. My money. I stared him down. Stop trying to lecture me. Remember this. Nothing in this house gets touched unless I say so. Every time you bring that woman over, I throw something else out, until there's nothing left. That afternoon, I had a luxury consignment service come over. I pulled all the nice suits, watches, and belts I bought Ethan out of his closet. Sell all of it. Ethan lost his mind trying to stop me. Claire, those are mine. That watch was our anniversary gift. You got it as a gift. I'm taking it back. I handed the Jaeger-LeCoultre watch to the consignment rep. Make me an offer. This is robbery. It's cutting my losses. I said calmly. If you don't want to get divorced and split everything, we can drag this out. Let's see what runs out first, your stuff or my patience. Ethan watched helplessly as all his fancy status symbols got bagged up and carried out. The consignment guy wired me $12,000 right in front of Ethan. I transferred the whole amount into my investment account. Consider that interest for all the money you blew on my supplementary card these past few months. Ethan collapsed on the floor, staring at his empty closet. Finally, he realized I meant every word. The standoff dragged into its second week. Ethan still refused to leave, but he was basically a ghost in the house. I'd taken back his car keys. The Audi S6 was in my name too. I'd cancelled all his supplementary cards. He was broke. His salary wasn't bad, but between his parents' mortgage, keeping up appearances for Luna, and work events, there was barely anything left. That night, I came home. Jake followed behind me carrying 2 huge insulated bags. We'd picked up dinner from a Michelin-starred restaurant, Australian lobster, truffle pasta, and a bottle of decanted red wine. Ethan was sitting at the dining table with a bowl of beef-flavored ramen. Jake opened the fancy takeout containers one by one, arranging them neatly on the table. The smell of lobster completely drowned out the instant noodles. I pulled out a wine glass and poured myself a glass. Have some, I offered Jake politely. No thanks, Ms. Bennett. I ate earlier. Enjoy your dinner. Call if you need anything. Jake knew the rules. He set out my silverware, then headed downstairs to wait in the car. I sat across from Ethan and twirled a forkful of pasta elegantly. Ethan stared down at his noodles, slurping loud enough to sound angry. Good? I asked. He looked up. His eyes were bloodshot. He looked like he hadn't slept in days, stubble covering his jaw. Claire, is this necessary? He threw his fork down into the bowl, splashing broth everywhere. You bring some guy over to humiliate me, flashing your fancy dinner in my face. Humiliate? I cut off a piece of lobster. Ethan, this is just how I live. You used to live like this too. You chose the instant noodles. I chose them. You cancelled my cards. You took my car, because you spent the money on things you shouldn't have, because you let someone who didn't belong there sit in your passenger seat. I took a sip of wine and watched his pathetic little meltdown. Ethan, do you feel wronged right now? Like I'm being cruel? Did you ever stop to think how I felt when I found out you were sending Luna money? When I found that hair in your seat? He stared at the spread of food things he'd once taken for granted, now completely out of reach, and swallowed hard. What do you want from me? Sign the divorce papers. Move out. Never. He was still stubborn. I'm not getting divorced. I'm not leaving. This is my home. Fine. I nodded. Enjoy your noodles. Then, over the next few days, I turned up the heat. I cut the internet. Ethan had to use his phone hotspot to send work emails, burning through his data like crazy. I emptied the fridge. Only my Evian water and fruit were left. If he wanted food, he ordered takeout or bought his own. I even had the mattress removed from the guest room where he'd been sleeping, saying it was old and needed replacing. The new one never showed up. He was sleeping on a bare bed frame. Day 10. Ethan finally broke. That night, I walked in to find him sitting in the dark living room, no lights on. The second I turned on the light, I smelled cigarette smoke, thick and stale. Claire, he said my name from the darkness. I flipped on the lamp. Ethan looked up. He looked terrible, and then he started crying. I can't do this anymore. His voice cracked. I can't take it. Coming home every day feels like being in prison. No money, no car, no food, sleeping on a board. Everyone at work keeps asking where my car went, why I dress like a mess. I can't show my face there anymore. What about Luna? I asked. Didn't she comfort you? Ethan flinched, looking embarrassed. She's been busy. I laughed. Busy because you ran out of money. Right. No more handbags. No more loans. Can't even drive her around anymore. So suddenly she's too busy to bother with you. Ethan buried his face in his hands. Miserable. Claire. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I cut her off. Completely. Can we just go back to how things were? I'll give you my paycheck. Every cent. I'll never look at another woman again. I promise. He was snotty and crying, putting on the whole pathetic show. Ethan. It's too late. I pulled the divorce papers out of my bag and set them down on the coffee table in front of him. Tears don't count for anything. Sign. Ethan stared at the papers, his hand shaking. He didn't pick up the pen. No. I can't. If I sign, I have nothing. Then keep suffering. My voice was ice cold. Let's see who cracks first, you or me. To prove how serious he was, Ethan called Luna right in front of me, on speakerphone. Luna, don't contact me ever again, he yelled into the phone, and pay me back that $5,000. We're done. There's nothing between us. On the other end, Luna's voice was teary and delicate. Ethan, what's wrong? Is your wife making you do this? Please don't Irie scaring me. Nobody's making me do anything. This is my choice. Stay away from me. You ruined my life. Ethan hung up and even blocked her number. When he was done, he looked at me like he deserved a prize. See, it's over. Done. His eyes were begging for approval. Like blocking someone on social media erased every single thing he'd done. Blocking her on your phone means it's over. I asked, you still work at the same company? You still see her every day? I can transfer departments, or have her moved. He was desperate. Anything. Just don't divorce me. What about the hotel room? Can you undo that too? Ethan had nothing to say to that. He rubbed his hands together, trying to reach for me. That night. That was a mistake. I was drunk. I didn't know what I was doing. You know how it is with work events, sometimes things just happen. Just happen. I laughed bitterly. You still think this is some small thing? You think deleting a contact makes it all go away? What else do you want from me? I apologized. I said I was sorry. Why can't you just let it go? He was getting defensive again, falling back on that same old moral high ground. I've already humiliated myself. What more do you want? Blood. I want us to settle up. I pulled out a sheet of paper covered in itemized expenses, every big bill I'd paid for the house, for his parents, over the years. You want to fix this and stay married? Fine. This house $40,000 I put into renovations. Your parents' hospital bills $10,000 I covered. And the car you drove it for 3 years. Depreciation and maintenance. Call it $5,000. Add the $5,000 Luna owes you. Plus the money you took from the household fund. Total, $70,000. I slid the paper across the table. Sign a postnuptial agreement. Admit that $70,000 is your personal debt. Pay it back in 2 years. If you can do that, we can talk about trying again. $70,000. Claire, are you insane? We're married. You want me to pay you back? When you were spending money on Luna, did you remember we were married? When you were using my money to impress her, did you remember I was your wife? That's different. How? Because I'm the wife, so I deserve to get taken advantage of. Ethan crumpled the paper into a ball and threw it hard on the floor. I'm not signing. This is ridiculous. Then get divorced. I won't. He was throwing a tantrum now. I'll drag this out forever. You can't make me leave. Fine. I bent down and picked up the crumpled paper. If you won't do this the easy way, we'll do it the hard way. Monday morning, Ethan snuck down to the underground garage with a spare key he'd had made, ready to drive the Audi to work like usual. But the parking spot was empty. He called me, screaming, "Where is it? Where's my car? Claire, what did you do with it?" "Sold it," I said flatly. "Sold it? You had no right to sell my car." "Correction, it was my car. The registration says Claire Bennett." He was spitting mad. "How am I supposed to get to work? I have a client meeting today." "Take the subway, or call a taxi." You always felt so bad for Luna because she didn't have a car. Now you get to experience it with her. "Claire, you're ruining my life. You did that all by yourself." Truth be told, I hadn't sold it. I'd just had Jake move it to a used car lot warehouse and lock it up. Ethan was late to work that day. He showed up sweaty from the subway, his suit wrinkled, his shoes scuffed. Worse, when Luna saw him looking like that, she couldn't hide the disgust on her face. That afternoon, Ethan showed up at my office. He made a scene at the front desk, yelling at the receptionist, "Get Claire out here. I'm her husband. She stole my car." He was screaming so loud everyone in the lobby turned to stare. Security stepped in to hold him back. I was walking out of the elevator with Jake, on my way to a big client meeting. I stopped when I saw him. "Ethan, have you had enough? Give me back my car. He charged over, eyes wild. Do you have any idea how embarrassed I was today? I smiled coldly. You weren't embarrassed when you cheated. You weren't embarrassed when you lived off your wife. But riding the subway. Now that's humiliating. Murmurs rippled through the lobby. Cheated. Moocher. Ethan's face turned beet red. His precious reputation was shattered right there. You lying. Am I? You know the truth. I turned to Jake. Jake. Call the police. This man is harassing me at work. On it. Jake pulled out his phone. Ethan backed down the second he heard police. He pointed at me. Fine, Claire. You win. You'll regret this. With that, he covered his face and ran off. While everyone whispered and stared, watching his back, I felt nothing. This was just the first step, taking away his fancy toys. Next, I'd take away everything else he cared about. Ethan's parents showed up. I'd expected it. When he couldn't handle me on his own, he'd call for backup. Wednesday night, I walked in to find them camped out in my living room. Martha and Harold Parker, Ethan's mom and dad. Well, look who decided to show up. Martha was already being snarky. Sell your husband's car, throw out half the house. Bully him into signing some unfair deal. You've got some nerve. Claire Bennett. Harold smoked his cigarette, flicking ash right onto my carpet. Claire, be reasonable. Marriage isn't about keeping score. You doing all this. You want to end things. I do want to end things. I took off my shoes and walked in. Since you're both here, perfect. We can settle the books. Settle what books? Martha stood up. My son gives you every penny he makes and it's still not enough. So what if he goes out for work drinks? Every man does that. You don't have to destroy him over it. Work drinks. I laughed. Work drinks that go straight to his coworker's bank account. I pulled a lawyer's demand letter out of my bag. Mom, Dad, you think I'm being unfair? Let's do this properly. Ethan lent Luna $5,000 behind my back. That's marital property. I'm getting it back. I've already hired a lawyer and sent her a demand letter. If she doesn't pay up, we're going to court. Martha froze. $5,000. Lent to who? His little work friend, I said. And for the record, all the big things he bought for the house. All your medical bills. That all came out of our joint account. If we're getting divorced, I want all that money back too. I pulled out the expense ledger. Mom, your heart stent last year. $3,500. I paid for it. Dad, your birthday banquet 2 years ago. $2,000. That was me. And the renovations on your house back home. I read off every single one. Martha's face got whiter and whiter. Harold's cigarette hand started shaking. They'd always thought Ethan paid for everything, that their son was so successful. Turns out I'd been the one footing the bill all along. Ethan spent more than $20,000 on that woman. That's our money. Are you gonna pay me back? Or is he gonna go to jail for it? I let that hang in the air. On purpose. Jail. Martha plopped back down on the couch, horrified. What do you mean? Jail, bigamy, embezzlement. Take your pick. If I dig into his expense reports at work, do you really think they'll hold up? I was guessing, mostly, but with Ethan's habit of cutting corners, I knew he was cutting corners at work too. Claire, that's a lie. I didn't do anything. Ethan jumped up. Didn't you? We can audit them and find out. I watched all three of them panic. So here's the deal. Option 1. Sign the divorce papers. Ethan walks away with nothing. I forget about the $5,000. Consider it a loss. Option 2. We go to court. I subpoena all his bank records. Not only do we get divorced, he might lose his job, maybe even do time. Your call. Martha burst into tears, wailing and slapping her thigh. What have you done, Ethan? You worthless fool. Look what you've gotten us into. Harold panicked too, pointing at his son. You really took money from the company. Dad. No, she's lying. She's scaring you. Ethan insisted. Is she? Let's find out. I picked up my phone. Want me to call your company's audit department right now? No. Ethan dove over and grabbed my hand. He was guilty. I looked him right in the eye and smiled. So you have been cutting corners. Interesting. Friday night was the deadline. To save his job and calm his parents down, Ethan suggested we all go to dinner. Uncle Ray, who'd introduced us, and Luna too. He said we'd clear the air. prove his innocence, and fix everything once and for all. We met at a private dining room in an iconic local restaurant. I brought Jake with me. He was carrying a portable projector. Claire, we're all here because we want you two to work things out. Uncle Ray spoke first, playing the peacemaker. Men make mistakes. Ethan knows he was wrong. Give him another chance. That's right. Think of your family. Martha chimed in. Even though she still looked furious with me, Ethan gave Luna a look. Luna stood up and raised her glass. Mrs. Parker. It was all a misunderstanding. Ethan and I are just co-workers. And that 5,000. I have it right here. I'm paying you back today. She set a bank card down on the table. Paying me back makes it all go away. I didn't touch the card. I looked right at Ethan. All gone. Water under the bridge. Ethan forced a smile. Honey, from now on I'll be better. I promise. Great. If we're turning the page. Let's finish reading the last chapter first. I nodded at Jake. Jake set up the projector and cast the image onto the blank wall of the private room. It wasn't some sappy home video. It was screenshots of Ethan and Luna's text messages. The things they said to each other were so explicit. Everyone in the room sucked in a sharp breath. Baby, you wanna meet at our spot tonight? I miss you. That old ball and chain is so annoying. Here's $5,000. Don't let your wife find out. Message after message, dated and time-stamped, with transfer screenshots to match. Then came the hotel reservation record, and finally, a copy of the divorce papers, already signed by me. The image froze on the document. The terms were clear. Husband admits to adultery, walks away with no marital assets. Uncle Ray's face turned bright red. He coughed awkwardly. Martha could barely read the screen, but she saw old ball and chain loud and clear. She was so mad she slapped Ethan right across the face. You animal. You said you were just helping her. Luna covered her face and tried to run, but Jake blocked the door. Sit down, Ms. Reed. The show's not over yet. Jake's voice was cold. I stood up and looked at Ethan. That's your misunderstanding. That's your innocence, Ethan. I tried to do this nicely. You chose to make a fool of yourself. Tonight, in front of your family. In front of your little girlfriend, this divorce is happening. The papers are right there. The pen is right there. Sign it. And this is over. Don't sign it. And all of this goes to your company's group chat tomorrow. And every single one of your clients. Choose. Ethan collapsed back into his chair, completely defeated. Luna finally snapped. I'm out of here. Keep your stupid money. She threw the card down, shoved past Jake, and ran out. Ethan held the pen, his hand shaking like he had Parkinson's. Sign it. What are you waiting for? Martha suddenly screamed. She grabbed his arm and shook him hard. You wanna go to jail. You wanna shame this whole family. Mom. If I sign, I have nothing. No house. No car. No money. His voice was cracking, like a little kid who'd lost everything. You can earn it back. Jail is forever. Harold yelled too, slamming his half-empty pack of cigarettes on the table. Uncle Ray looked it up. Embezzlement. 3 years minimum. Uncle Ray wiped sweat off his brow awkwardly. He's right, Ethan. You gotta look at the big picture. Claire's being reasonable by settling this privately. Just sign it. That's how people are, when real consequences and legal trouble are on the line. Family loyalty goes out the window. They didn't care that Ethan would be poor. They cared about having a son in prison, about the neighbors talking, about losing face. Ethan, I'm running out of patience. I checked my watch. 5 minutes. If you haven't signed in 5 minutes. Jake sends all of this to your CEO, Mr. Scott. You know how he feels about people who steal from the company. He gritted his teeth, closed his eyes, and scribbled his signature on the papers. Scratch, scratch, scratch. When he finished the last word, he went completely limp. The pen clattered to the floor. Jake walked over, picked up the papers, checked them over, and handed them to me. All good. Ms. Bennett. I stood up and picked up the bank card Luna had left behind. That 5,000 covers a little of the interest. The other 65,000 is in the agreement. 2 years to pay it back. Otherwise, I'll see you in court. Claire. Ethan looked up, his eyes red and full of hate. You're really gonna leave me with nothing? You did this to yourself. I straightened my coat collar and looked down at all of them from where I stood. Martha was still crying. Harold sat there smoking, staring at the floor. Uncle Ray wouldn't meet my eye. Thanks for coming, everyone. I won't keep you for dinner. Bill's on me. Consider it my last gesture of goodwill to the family. With that, I walked out of the private room with Jake. Outside the restaurant, the night air was cool. Jake pulled the Panamera around and got out to open my door. Where to? Ms. Bennett. Home. I sat in the back seat and closed my eyes. Exhausted. Had I won? Yes, I'd won, but there was no joy in it. 8 years of marriage, reduced to a single piece of paper and a whole lot of mess. Ethan moved out on a cloudy day, per the agreement. He had 3 days to leave. He dragged it out for a week. I finally had Jake change the locks and have all his things packed up and left with the building lobby attendant. That's when he finally showed up. Saturday morning. I sat in my armchair in the living room and watched him carry box after box out. Jake stood by the door like a guard, watching him like a hawk. Ethan didn't dare cause trouble. He wouldn't even look Jake in the eye. Claire. That tea set. Can I take it? Ethan pointed to a handcrafted ceramic teapot on the shelf. It was his favorite thing. He'd always been so proud of it. That was a wedding gift from my parents, I said coldly. Remember? Ethan pulled his hand back. Then. The coffee machine. I bought that. Right. You bought it. With my supplementary card. I stared at him. And it's built-in. You can't take it with you. Ethan gritted his teeth and kicked one of the cardboard boxes hard. Claire, do you really have to count every single thing? We were married when things were messy. You said I was being petty. When I count everything clearly, you say I'm cruel. I took a sip of water. Ethan. You can't have it both ways. He didn't say anything else. He just packed his clothes in silence. All the nice suits were already sold. All he had left was cheap casual clothes and underwear. 2 suitcases. Plus 2 tattered canvas duffel bags. That was everything he was taking with him. 8 years. And all he walked away with was garbage. Right before he left, he spoke up. Luna. Has she contacted you? I paused, then laughed. Ethan, you're still thinking about her. No. That's not. He looked away. I haven't heard from her since that night. Blocked my number. Deleted me on everything. Did she plan this all along? Watching how clueless he was, I almost felt bad for him. Almost. Ethan. Luna never cared about you. She cared about the sales director title, the Audi, the money you spent on her. Now you have nothing. You're in debt. Why would she stick around? To help you pay it back. You thought she was in love with you. Grow up. She was a professional homewrecker. You were just an easy mark. Go. I nodded toward the door. And don't get your bags on my floor. Ethan opened his mouth, but said nothing. He dragged his suitcases out and left with his tail between his legs. Ethan thought signing the papers meant he'd keep his job. He was naive. Word gets around. What happened in that private dining room didn't stay there. The server heard everything, and Luna had plenty of enemies at work with her attitude. Secrets don't stay secret forever. Wednesday, I got a call from a headhunter friend. Claire, heard about your ex. I smiled. Word travels fast. Small industry. Heard Mr. Scott blew a gasket. Launched a full internal audit. Ethan's expense reports didn't hold up. Oh yeah, what did they find? Falsified entertainment expenses. Kickbacks. Not huge amounts, but bad enough. You know how Mr. Scott is zero tolerance. They suspended him already, walking him out this week, and he's blacklisted across the whole industry. Guy's never gonna work in this town again. I hung up. No surprise there. That night, Jake drove me home. We'd just pulled up to the community gate when someone ran out in front of the car. Jake slammed on the brakes. Claire, get out here. It had only been a few days, but Ethan looked terrible. Greasy hair, sunken eyes, reeking of alcohol. Jake unbuckled his seatbelt. Stay in the car. Ms. Bennett. He got out and stood between Ethan and the car. Mr. Parker, move. This is private property. Get out of my way. I need to talk to her. Ethan shoved Jake, but he didn't move an inch. I rolled down the window. Let him talk. Ethan ran to the window, gripping the frame tight, his eyes bloodshot. You had to ruin everything, didn't you? I lost my job. Fired. Blacklisted everywhere. Happy now? You got yourself fired. That has nothing to do with me. I looked at him coldly. Did I make you file fake expenses? Did I make you embezzle money? If you hadn't pushed the divorce, if you hadn't made such a big scene, Mr. Scott never would have looked into me. Nice logic. I laughed bitterly. Ethan, you still blame everyone but yourself. You were stealing from the company to cheat on your wife. Did you really think there'd be no consequences? He stammered. Then switched to begging. Please. We were married for 5 years. Help me. You know people. You know Mr. Scott. Talk to him. I'll take a demotion. Anything. I have a mortgage. I owe you $65,000. How am I supposed to pay it back? That's your problem. You're really gonna let me fall apart. You want me to die out here. He was getting hysterical, trying to reach through the window to grab me. Jake grabbed his wrist and twisted it behind his back. Oh, Ethan yelped. Mr. Parker. Back off. Jake's voice was ice. Touch her again and you'll regret it. Jake, drive. I rolled up the window. Claire, you'll get what you deserve. You cold-hearted witch. In that moment, the last tiny flicker of pity I'd felt for him went out. A man with no spine, no pride. Not even the guts to own up to his own mistakes. 8 years of my life. What a waste. Ethan's job was gone for good. Worse, the company was pressing charges to stay out of jail. He had to mortgage his parents' house back home to pay back what he'd stolen. Now all 3 of them were crammed into a tiny 400-square-foot apartment in a bad neighborhood. Saturday. I was at home reading. The doorbell rang. I checked the camera. 2 old, haggard faces stared back. Harold and Martha Parker. They carried a basket of farm-fresh eggs and a bag of what looked like homegrown vegetables. They stood there fidgeting. Martha had her best fake smile plastered on. I didn't want to let them in, but the bell kept ringing. I thought about it, then opened the door. Claire, there you are. Martha beamed, trying to push her way inside. I stood in the doorway, blocking her. What do you want? Oh, it's been so long since we've seen you. These are from a relative back home, farm fresh. No pesticides. Brought you some to try. She tried to shove the basket into my hands. I didn't take it. I don't need eggs. Say what you came here to say. Harold sighed and tugged on Martha's sleeve. We came to apologize. On Ethan's behalf. Harold stared at the ground. His voice old and tired. Everything that happened. It's all his fault. But he's really struggling now. No job. No house. We're all suffering. So. We were thinking, maybe you two could get back together. Martha jumped in. Or even if you don't remarry. Let him move back in. 5 years of marriage doesn't just disappear. That Luna girl was just a gold digger. She's gone now. Ethan says you're the only one he ever loved. I looked at the 2 of them and almost laughed. These were the same people who'd called me a jinx. Who'd said I was useless for not giving them grandchildren. Now they were here with a basket of eggs, begging me to take their son back. Mr. and Mrs. Parker. I dropped the mom and dad. Ethan doesn't love me. He loves my money, my house, the nice life I gave him. He doesn't want to come back because he loves me. He wants to come back because he's broke. He wants a free ride. That's not true. Martha insisted. After everything you've been through. Everything is over. I cut her off. It was over when he spent our money on another woman. When he called me a ball and chain. When he lied and stole from me. Just go. Don't come back. And keep your eggs. I don't want them. I started to close the door. Martha dropped to her knees right there in the hallway. Claire, please. I'm begging you. Save him. If this keeps up, he'll ruin his whole life. We need him to take care of us when we're old. She wailed loud enough for all the neighbors to peek out their doors. Mrs. Parker, what happens to him is none of my business. Whether you can retire comfortably is none of my business either. I'm your ex-daughter-in-law. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Get up now. Or I'll call security. Or maybe I'll print out all the terrible things Ethan did and tape them to the door of your little apartment. How does that sound? Martha's crying stopped instantly. She scrambled to her feet, grabbed Harold, and ran off. The basket of eggs tipped over in the chaos. They smashed all over the hallway floor. Yellow yolk oozing everywhere. reeking. With Ethan and his family out of my life for good, everything finally quieted down. I threw myself into work. My numbers kept going up, up, up. Jake was still my driver, but it felt like he wanted to be more than that. One night, I had a business dinner. I drank a little too much, head spinning. Jake helped me out of the restaurant. His hand was firm, steady on my arm. In the car, he'd set out warm honey water and a travel pillow for me. Feeling any better, Ms. Bennett? He leaned over to adjust my seat back. The car was dark. His face was close. The warm, minty smell of him surrounded me. Male, alive. I looked into his eyes. They were bright, holding something I recognized, something I didn't want to encourage. Jake. I closed my eyes. Take me home. Sure thing. When we pulled into the garage, he parked but didn't unlock the doors right away. Ms. Bennett. His voice was lower than usual. Ethan. He never deserved you. I know. I could take care of you, not just as your driver. He finally said it. A young, handsome, energetic guy, making a move on a recently divorced, successful woman who'd had a little too much to drink. To most people, that would sound like the start of a romance. But I was too clear-headed for that. Clear-headed to the point of being cold. I opened my eyes and sat up straight. The alcohol faded fast. Jake, how old are you again? 22. I'm 10 years older than you. I looked him dead in the eye. What exactly do you think you can take care of? Your student loans, your entry-level salary. Jake's face turned bright red. I'll work hard. I graduate next year. I'll make real money. Jake, I cut him off. I hired you because you're a good driver. You're quiet. You know where the line is. If you want to cross that line, this working relationship is over. I didn't need a man, and I definitely didn't need more trouble. I'd just climbed out of one hole with a grown man-child. I had no interest in raising another boy, even if he was handsome, even if he seemed sincere right now. But sincerity doesn't last when there's this much of a gap in money and life experience. Jake froze. He looked at my cold face, and that bright light in his eyes slowly went out. He was smart. He got the message. I'm sorry, Ms. Bennett. I overstepped. Don't let it happen again. I opened the door and got out. For a split second, I'd felt it too. That little pull. Who doesn't want that kind of young, bright attention? But I loved the life I had now more. Independent, free, in control. I didn't need anyone to save me. I didn't need anyone to complete me. After the mandatory divorce waiting period was up, Ethan and I went to the county clerk's office to finalize the divorce. When I saw Ethan, I almost didn't recognize him. He was gaunt, wearing a faded old jacket, his shoulders hunched. He looked at me, his expression complicated. I wore a tailored wool coat, my makeup perfect, my skin glowing. We stood in the office lobby like we were from two different worlds. The paperwork went fast. When I held the divorce decree in my hand, Ethan's was shaking. Claire, he stopped me, his voice rough. If I'd never met Luna, would we? Would it have been different? I stopped and turned to look at him. Ethan, there's no such thing as if. And even if there wasn't a Luna, there would have been someone else to flirt with, someone else to spoil. Because at the end of the day, you're selfish, and you don't know how to take responsibility. This marriage didn't fail because of a third person. It failed because of you. Ethan's mouth opened and closed. Finally, he smiled bitterly and looked down. I hope you're happy. I will be. I didn't wish him happiness, because I knew he wouldn't find it. He'd burned through every good thing he ever had. I walked out of the county clerk's office. The sun was bright, warm on my skin. Down the street, the gray Panamera waited, glinting in the sunlight. Jake was leaning against the door in a crisp suit. When he saw me, he stood up straight and opened the back door for me. His eyes were clear and steady. No more of that awkward tension from that night. Just professional respect. He'd found his line again, and he'd kept his job. I slid into the back seat. Congratulations, Ms. Bennett. Jake handed me a hot coffee. Thanks. I took it and sipped. Back to the office, Jake asked. I watched the world go by outside the window. All the fighting, the yelling, the cheating, the tears, all of it was behind me. The road ahead was wide open. My life was just getting started. No office, I set down the coffee and smiled. Let's go to the mall. There's a new bag I've had my eye on. You got it. Jake hit the gas. The car merged smoothly into traffic, heading forward. And Ethan. I checked the rearview mirror. He was already gone.